All right, welcome. Good to see everybody, and thanks again for being here live. I'm sure all of you have seen the news that we released earlier that Sam Hartman's been cleared, and we're very excited to get Sam back. From the beginning, this was going to be a medical decision, and the medical professionals have been monitoring it very close, and they feel he is able to play. And Sam attacked this as you would expect he would. He did everything right. He stayed in shape. He was throwing the ball, and he is ready to go. But a very special thank you really to three people. First of all, Niles Fleet, our head athletic trainer, our team doctor, Dr. Chris Miles, and then the head of Wake Forest Hospital, Dr. Julie Freshlog. What these three people did, and there'll be a story for another time, but it was really incredible. They dropped everything in their personal life to make sure that this was a good outcome, and I'm very grateful to all three of them. They're just all incredible professionals, and this was an example of sports medicine and the collaboration between our athletic department and the hospital just working extremely well. And Dr. Freshlog, we're very fortunate that arguably the person who might be as good as anybody in the world at this, is in charge of our hospital. So we're very grateful, and we're excited to get Sam back. And I'm not going to go anywhere else with that medically. I'm going to kind of stay in my lane because there's words in the diagnosis I'm not quite sure I'll pronounce correctly. So I'd rather not go there. In terms of wrapping up VMI, I think it was a good opener for us. We played 50 players over 10 plays. On offense, I thought we played well. Mitch was extremely efficient and played for his first start, I thought, extremely well. Christian Turner, I think, had his best game running the football as a deke. But the sloppiness came from just too many penalties. And they were bad holds, holds on the perimeter, that I think really cost us 2 touchdowns and a 2-point conversion, because the one touchdown to Justice Ellison got called back. The one run by Christian Turner would have put us in a really good red zone position, and then obviously the 2-point conversion. On defense, I thought we were solid. I thought we played with great effort. But again, just some very undisciplined penalties. The roughing the passer penalties were extremely disappointing. One of them took a pick 6 off the board. Another extended a drive, and then we jumped off sides on a 4th and 3, which extended a drive. And so in a lot of ways, it's an ideal opener. We won the game. We got to play a lot of different people, and yet there was a lot of teachable moments that we have to get corrected, as we step up the level of play. Moving on to Vanderbilt. We're going on the road against an SEC team that's 2-0, and they're a very improved football team. On offense right now, they're averaging 52.5 points a game and over 500 yards. It's a veteran offense. I think they've got 9 seniors or whatever that play a lot of football for them. Their quarterback, Michael Wright, is excellent. He's rushed for almost 250 yards. Every time he carries the football, he averages over 10 yards a carry. He's been accurate. He has not thrown a pick, and he has breakaway speed. I'm sure that he would be on a lot of track teams that, his 100-meter time and his 200-meter time from high school he's got legit speed. The running back, they have 3 of them that are really good, but Ray Davis is probably the top ball carrier for him. And again, he's had 29 carries for about 186 yards. Will Shepard is a 6'3", 200-pound receiver that I think would play anywhere. I mean, he would certainly play for us and play for a lot of teams in the SEC and the ACC, and he can go up and get it. And they've got some slots that are really efficient with their speed sweeps and their power read series and bubbles. And they got a veteran O-line. We think Hernandez is going to be back. He's a really good center. Castillo was the starting guard that moved to center, and Cox. And again, it's a veteran group. On defense, they're giving up a little more than 20 points a game. They start 8 seniors, 2 juniors, and a sophomore. And there's players at every level. Anthony Orji, it's a preseason second team all SEC player, extremely productive, a very, very good blitzer, can run sideline to sideline. The safety, Jalen Mahoney, we wanted him. He was committed here. We thought he was a high-level player out of high school, and he was committed and kind of decommitted a little later in the process, but he's played everywhere. He started at corner, nickel, safety. He's had 25 career starts. He's a high-end player. The guy that I really like is DeRicky Wright. He does everything for them. He plays outside linebacker. He plays nickel. He plays deep safety. He'll play the post. He'll blitz. They've got a lot of guys that are very versatile, experienced players. And Michael Owasu is a sixth-year senior that is probably their best pass rusher. Again, Vanderbilt has always recruited well. They have good players, and it's Coach Lee's second year in the system, and you can see they're a very improved football team. I know Clark extremely well. Clark was my linebacker coach at Bowling Green in 2012, and then the linebacker coach here in 2016. He is extremely smart. He's a very strategic thinker, and I'm sure he will maximize Vanderbilt football, but they also have a great staff. He's done a good job of hiring coaches right away. He stole some guys from us. Their head strength coach is Brandon Horrigan, who Brandon and I worked together for like 13, 14 years at 3 different schools, and Brandon did a phenomenal job here. Brandon is one of the major reasons why we are where we are, and one of the best things Brandon did is he helped train Chad Berry, and now Chad's an excellent strength coach in his own right. But Brandon and I go back to Richmond in 2004 and just think the world of him and the job he's done. And then their chief of staff is Ben Cotham, who is our video coordinator here. And Ben's a great guy, great family. But we know their staff well. Joey Lynch, their offensive coordinator, he was at Ball State when I was at Bowling Green, and he's a really good football coach. Their special teams coordinator, Justin Lustig, was the special teams coordinator at Syracuse for a lot of years, and I thought they were always one of the best coached special teams units. He's an outstanding coach, and their defensive coordinator, Nick Howell, was at UVA, and I know with my friendship with Bronco how highly he thinks of Nick. So Clark, has hired a good staff. They've got a veteran team, and they're very improved. This will be a very challenging game for us. We're going to have to play well and not turn the ball over and not do a lot of those things that you see on TV weeks 1 and 2. So with that, I'll open it up to any questions. Whoa, one less.
Just as you continuously said that Mitch had to gain a rhythm with the first string, do you have that same concern with Sam getting back into the rhythm with that group? And then how long has he been practicing? Did he practice today?
Yeah, he practiced today. He practiced Sunday. He's been out there throwing the ball in Skelly and individual last week. I mean, he's been going. He's in shape. He wasn't completely idle during this time. He's been throwing the ball for a while. And so, I mean, there's just so many accumulated reps, and he got right back on the bike, Les. So he's looked really good, and if we had concerns about that, we wouldn't be starting him.
I guess.
Go ahead.
What's the mood of the team with Sam coming back and being back in the fold? Like I'm sure they've seen him around for these last 3 weeks, but actually seeing him get back out and practicing with them.
They're excited. I mean, and so much more of this is football than football, Connor. I mean, when this whole thing happens, football is the last thing on your mind, right? You're very concerned about his health and if everything's going to be okay. And then as we got good news on that, I mean, we just wanted him to be healthy. And whether he was going to play or not this year was really secondary. And as we found out more about it and the possibility of him playing, we're excited about it. And we're getting back our captain, one of our best leaders that we've ever had here, and a really good football player. But I think more than anything, they're just happy for him because they know how important it is to him. And, our football team is, it's kind of, Sam's a veteran starter, right? But I mean, I don't want to take away the job that Mitch Griffiths did, because if Mitch hadn't have stayed ready, who knows? Your quarterback, you go in any game and he doesn't play well and throws 3 or 4 picks and isn't prepared, anything can happen. And not only was Mitch ready to play, but Michael Kern was ready to play. And so I think the reaction was excitement, more so for Sam, because they know how important it is to him. It wasn't like, oh man, we can't win with Mitch or Michael, because I think the team has confidence in both those guys. I certainly do. And, I told Mitch this, when this thing happened with Sam, I lost sleep that night for my concern for Sam, not because I was worried that we weren't going to be fine at quarterback.
Dave, in terms of what Sam could do on the field, where were you when you heard that he could play? Was it something that you just got to follow?
There was a timetable given to me, and we knew there was a chance that this could happen last week, and you stay out of it. You really do. You stay out of it as a coach. I'm not a doctor. I don't understand everything that happened or what was done. It was explained to me kind of so that a football coach could understand it. And again, I just am really grateful to Dr. Freshlog. She, called me and let me know what was going on and that she was comfortable with it and that his recovery has gone extremely well. And it was just great news. So I think happy for Sam. And today was the day he was officially cleared, and how, you release that stuff and, people texting you, they want you to be, you can't, it's a medical thing. You can't go there.
And are there limits for Saturday's game?
No, he's cleared. He's cleared. Tony?
Going to the conversation about the penalties, Saturday after the game, you talked about having the officials on the field during practice, and I know you said it kind of tongue in cheek, maybe we need to pay in more to get them, throw more flags. What have you done this week to address the penalties?
Well, we showed.
Are they throwing more flags this week?
No, I don't think so. I mean, those were all good calls. When you're on the perimeter and a guy gets torqued, it's a pretty easy call. So Blake Whiteheart, the guy tried to come off and make a play, and clearly he got turned. And then Javiante Nash, the guy, he's back to him, he grabs his jersey. I mean, it makes no sense. Sean McGinn's was a little, it was a good call, but those are, that I wouldn't say that was a bad hold. Those ones happen. But the roughing the quarterbacks, I mean, the game is the game, right? The quarterback is the most protected player on the field, and he should be. He can't protect himself. And not only did they call 2, they really should have called a 3rd. There was another one that, in my opinion, if somebody had hit our quarterback like that, I would send it in and say that should have been and it was the same 2 guys that did both of them. And it's going to cost us a game. I mean, a pick 6, I feel bad for Isaiah Wingfield. What a great memory for him to have a pick 6, and because of a really bad decision by a defensive lineman, that got taken off the board. And there's going to be games this year that if that is taken off the board, we won't win the game because of that play. So we've got to clean it up. And it was really, for the most part, we have not been a heavily penalized team here. We've been pretty disciplined. And sometimes you get in those games and those D linemen, want to get a sack so bad. And when they don't get there and the quarterback gets rid of the ball quickly, they'll do something like that in frustration. And that frustration hurt our football team.
So if I can follow up real quick, how are you addressing the team in practice this week?
I mean, it's no differently than I address it before the week. I mean, that you go back in our history, that hasn't been a problem. I probably shouldn't say that. I mean, the Syracuse game last year, that almost cost us the game. It's just not smart football, and those become selfish penalties. That you're frustrated that you didn't get there, so you're going to take a shot, and now the defense isn't off the field. 6 points come off the board, and it's just bad football. And my job as the head coach is to make sure those things don't happen. And if they continue to happen, we can't play the players that make those type of mistakes because it hurts the team.
You mentioned Isaiah and his development. Explain more on that already this year, but talk about what he's been able to do.
He came from Harvard, and I remember recruiting him, and I said, I think it would really help you if you could get here in the spring. It's a little bit of a different level. And he's like, Coach, I'll be fine, and I've got these classes that I really want to take here and finish up, and like, okay, I'm just telling you, it's more of a jump than you think. And then he got here and he figured out the hard way. It was more of a jump than he thought. And he's a very smart young man. He's very motivated. He's very intentional. And one of our advantages here at Wake Forest is, for the most part, we recruit smart people. And those guys figure it out. And he's figured it out. He knew what he had to do, and he took very intentional steps to get there and to make himself a better player. And I view him and Kobe Davis as starters. They're both starters.
His resume with Harvard and Wake on it's going to be pretty good when he gets out of here.
Yeah, he's one of those guys, if he starts a company, I think we all want to be on that initial offering. I think it'll do pretty well.
Christian Turner's performance on Thursday, how does that affect, alternating reps with him and Justice?
Doesn't. Those guys are we have 2 starting tailbacks, we have 2 starting slots, we have 2 starting nickels. We're going to rotate 3 corners in there regularly. We're going to play guys. So all that does is reinforce that both those guys deserve to start. So they're going to continue to alternate, and in a certain game, if one guy gets the hot hand, we may give him the ball a little bit more like we've done in the past. But part of our success here has to be to stay healthy and to have as many playable players as we can to get us into October and November. So for us to suddenly say, well, Christian had a good game, we're going to give him 80% of the reps. It's not fair to Justice Ellison. Justice Ellison's a really good player, and he certainly had games last year like Army that after the game you'd say, he probably had the best game. So those 2 will continue to play, and they'll play equally, just like Keyshawn and Taylor, and just like Kobe and Isaiah. We can't get enough guys here ready to play. It's a marathon. And as I started out saying, one of the best things about that game last Thursday is that we played 50 players over 10 plays. And that is really important early in the season. Before we get to the conference schedule, is we get guys playable, and the only way to get them playable is to play them.
So is that a similar approach that you're taking with Keyshawn and Jamal at wide receiver as well?
Those guys are playing. I mean, I think we have 3 starting outside receivers in my mind. Donovan Green, Torian Perry, and Jamal Banks. I don't care which 2 are in. I have confidence in all those guys. And at slot, if a play's called, I don't even think twice of whether it's Taylor or Key. Like, those guys can all play. And again, the only way that we're going to stay fresh and win games in the 4th quarter and get healthy into October and November, a few years ago, right, at receiver, we had Kendall Hinton, Scotty Washington, and Sage Surratt. And when Scotty got hurt against NC State and Sage got hurt against Virginia Tech, how did that look after that? That was a problem. And I know there's this feeling, well, you got this player, you play him. If you play him 80, 90 plays a game, you won't have them in November. And if you do, they'll be a fraction of what they're capable of.
Do you have any guys against VMI that maybe were on the fence of being in that 51 or 52 guys above the line that put themselves over the edge?
Not yet. No, I mean, that'll be, you go through the month, and, part of it is we'll find out as you play Vanderbilt and Liberty and Clemson. I mean, again, I thought VMI did a great job with their game plan. I thought they were extremely well coached. They play hard. That's a game that we should have a lot of personnel advantages. And that's not a knock on VMI. I mean, we should have better players than them. And so it's hard to come out of that game and say, okay, over the line now.
One of the guys I have in mind in there is Dylan Hazen. He looked as good as.
Oh, he's playable.
Okay.
He's more than playable. He's not one of those guys we're trying to get over the line. He can play.
Dave, I know Sam is back, but so's Ryan. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, we're glad to get Ryan back. They wouldn't even let him be on our sidelines last week. So again, it just, it's like you make a bad decision, you just double down and then triple down on it. So I couldn't understand it. Usually when you get ejected from a game, you can be on the sidelines. They wouldn't even let him on the bench. And so, yes, we're glad to get Ryan back. He's a good player. He's one of the leaders of our defense. And obviously that will affect, Jalen and Dylan won't play as much at linebacker, hopefully, but it also makes us better on special teams. Right now we can get Jalen Hudson is one of our very best special teams players. He was last year, and now, because of last week not having Ryan, we had to limit him on special teams. So it makes our football team better.
Dave, you talked about the release of information today about Sam's return. What were some of the criteria that led to coming out this way as opposed to just secretly carting Sam down to Nashville Saturday and surprising him kind of getting this out a little bit?
I just thought, and we talked about it as a department, that just we thought the more transparency, the better. Right? No one was quite sure what it was. And as long as Sam was comfortable with it and Dr. Freshlog was comfortable with it, we just thought that we needed to be transparent. And, the whole idea of hide him as the starter was really secondary to letting people know that he's healthy. And this way, after the game, Sam doesn't have to answer a million questions about it. We want him to focus on playing football. And like he said, there'll be a time and a place, and when that time and place is, it's really up to Sam. That he'll be able to tell the whole story of what happened and how it happened, and it's really a good positive story, because a lot of people here did their job and did it at a very high level. But we didn't want the post game. We didn't want it to be a surprise and have the post game be all about this. We want to move forward and focus on football.
Did you have a one-on-one conversation with Mitch, aside from the rest of the team, to let him know Sam was coming back?
I did. I stepped into the quarterback room the other day, and I told him, I said, it looks like Sam is going to be cleared, but you need to stay ready. And I'll just tell you as the head coach that I thought you did a great job. We were fully confident in you. That was not just coach speak. And, what you did kept a lot of our goals for our season alive. He did a great job, and I think our future at quarterback is very bright. When Sam leaves, and I don't know, I think he's got another year, but I think if this year goes the way he'd like it to, it's probably his last year. That I think people can see why we're so positive and optimistic about Mitch and Michael Kern, and Brett Griffiths is doing a great job for us as well. We'll be in very good shape at quarterback.
Aaron on the Zoom, you want to go ahead?
Hey Dave, one thing about that, when Sam originally had his announcement, he said we're better equipped to handle this now than we probably ever have been. And just rattle off with the receiver and running back. Is there a value that your players have, the idea of recurring and doing in a way that you can sustain success even with a sleep on what you guys had to say on the situation?
Yeah, and I don't want to go to the whole next man up thing, because it devalues the person that goes down. And starters are starters for a reason. But everybody on our football team has an obligation to prepare themselves to the best of their ability. And a few years ago in 2019, we were flying along 7-1, and I think we had one of the best receiving crews in the ACC. And when Scotty went down and then Sage went down, the next guys who had to get ready to play weren't ready to play, and it hurt our whole football team. And I often use 19 as an example of, you don't know when your opportunity is going to come. The only thing you can control is your preparation for that opportunity. And I think Mitch is a great example of somebody who was prepared for his opportunity. And now if something happens down the line with Sam and Mitch has to go in there and win a game, I think everybody's going to feel better about it and have confidence in him. And every backup at every position has to prepare in that same way so the team has that same confidence in them. And a great example last year was Devontae Gordon. we were not, obviously Javiante Nash, that was a big loss. And Devontae Gordon stepped up and had a great season for us. So there's a lot of those examples in the past years of the next guy was ready and the team had success because of it. And there's a lot of examples that the next guy wasn't ready and we ended up losing a game because of it. So those are constant examples we make to our entire football team.
Yeah, and to ask something a little bit broader about the ACC, when we were in Charlotte, there were a lot of questions about, Washington, the ACC, and some of the football coaches said that about what Coach Dave Clawson do is, win games and worry about that. The month of September has a lot of these types of games. You guys are in one this week against another power conference, and we've already had some success. How valuable are these games and this month of September for the league as a whole in that from a perception standpoint?
I think there's always going to be an early overreaction to it, and I don't know if winning a game or two in September is going to change the overall perception of the league. I think a lot of teams in our league just need to have good years, and it's important you start out with some great wins, and I think it's probably even more important that you finish with great wins. So these early non-conference games are opportunities, and then the bowl games seem to be what people remember. And a couple years ago, we were bragging because I think we were like 8-2 or had a great bowl record the one year. And then the last 2 years, we haven't been as strong in bowl games. So, that narrative seems to change week to week. Obviously there were some great wins by teams in our conference. It's just funny that any time that happens, it just seems that your profession suddenly downgrades the team that the ACC beat. That it wasn't a great win. It's, well, that team's not good. So, it's, some of those battles you're never gonna win the perception battle of it. So you just try to win on the field and you hope it takes care of itself.
Dave, what was your post-video walkthrough assessment of the two lines?
I thought our D-line played really, really hard. There was penetration, a lot of the run game. We forced cuts in the backfield. And I thought our offensive line played really well. And we ran the ball very efficiently. We usually have a run efficiency goal of about 55%, and we were in the mid-60s with it. And we protected well. The one sack we gave up, there was a miscommunication with the snap count that Devontae Gordon gave up the sack, but it really wasn't his fault. The ball was snapped early, and he got off the ball late, and that was not on him. So I thought both lines played well.
Speaking of that, Spencer Clapp rotated in with the first team a bit. What did you see from him? And is that Michael Juergens being limited at all? Or?
No, we just wanted we always go into the first few games making a commitment to rotate and play people. And the bottom line is Spencer Clapp played well enough in camp that he deserves to play. And Michael Juergens missed parts of camp. And just for his conditioning level and getting him back into it, we thought it'd be good to give him a little bit of a break there. And again, it was a little bit just for Michael that he had missed some practice and that Spencer deserves to play. And so Spencer can play center, he can play left tackle, he can play a lot of different positions. And he's a guy we are going to rotate in there. So we feel very, it's like a lot of positions, we feel we have 6 starters. And he may not play the same amount as other guys, but when he goes in there, we're very confident.
Dave, one more thing about Sam. Are you kind of impressed that he practiced 2 days and nobody knew about it?
Our team I trust our team. So I told our team Sunday that we were optimistic to not tell anybody. And I told our team today after practice that he's been cleared and not to tell anybody. And I will continue to share news with them before we release it as long as they continue to show me that they're trustworthy. And they have never, ever let me down. When that happened with Sam that one night, all of our entire team knew the day before. And again, I trust them with information. And, you have a room of 110, 125 young men, and yet nothing leaks. That's the type of character that these guys have. Okay, thank you.